Just waiting for Erena to come in. She's acting as a surrogate. Hey there.
Hello.
How you going?
All right, thank you. Hi.
The motivation for this was exasperation at having the amount of tech and IT issues just constantly happening now for about 6 weeks straight. It's not just us. So many other people are having these communications / IT / tech kind of issues going on all the time. But for me, it's kind of just reached, epic proportions. And when I sat with it the other day and thought, is there something that we can do about this? Is there something that we need to observe about this? The body talk session was what came up as a priority. I don't know if you know this, Erena, but you're actually the first person ever to join My Incredible Orbit. So you are the founding member. And it's also then, perfect that you volunteered to be the surrogate and why we're going to use you as a surrogate. Okay, so let's dive in. We've got Erena acting as a surrogate for the entire, not only the entire matrix, but this agenda that we're bringing to the table. And I am going to clarify for starters what the agenda is. So we have 2 words. The first one is communication. And the second one is connection, CC. And, I talked to people right at the start of the year and at the end of the last year, and they were the 2 words that kept coming up that were going to be critical focus points for 2021 is communication and connection, communication, connection. Okay. The first item then that we're coming to is an active memory. It is not a past active memory. It's coming up as a future active memory. And we're going into events. We're coming to it's actually a time frame. So it's the year 2022 to 2025, and it will be right at the end of 2025. We're going right to November, December that year. And for 2022, we are starting at the start of that yearly orbit, so January, February. Interesting, it's grabbing the first 2 months and the last 2 months of that entire cycle, January, February to November, December, 2022 to 2025. So we have a future event. Remembering that this linear timeline is something that in particular, our left brains really interpret to make sense at a time, but really all time unfolds in consciousness at exactly the same moment. So, oh shit, sorry, I just saw it. This chunk of time that we're addressing as an active memory, that is actually what's interfering with us. It's a massive interference. There is things being rewritten, history being rewritten, manuals getting rewritten, organizations getting rewritten, structures getting rewritten. Remember at the start of the year we talked about what the age of Aquarius is about. It's about a lot, but it's usually got a lot to do with the crumbling and the destructuring of what is pathological, what is unhealthy, what no longer serves, so that a new healthy can come from that. And it's always going to happen individually for people, and then it's going to happen on bigger scales, and then on much global scales, and it's all going to happen at different timelines as well. So we have that time frame as being the one that's really impacting us now in our time space, in our reality. Let's just sit with that for a moment. So much being rewritten. It's everything. Reorganization, reframing, recalibrating, not a word that I use very often, but reconstitutionalizing.
Restoring.
Thank you. Gosh, I feel like there's so many more there.
Yes.
Rebuilding. That's huge, rebuilding. There are so many re's in there. So like I get a sense that as somebody watches this, they might have their own come up as well. And I would love it if they could add it into the group so we can add it to this list, because it is important that we see this, that we become consciously part of that process and what is going on there. We're not only being affected by it, but we are at the same time being the observers for it. And that's what I hear Innate saying, is that we need observers for that period of time. So we often think that when we're doing a session now, that, you know, this is a reason why we have us involved, is that the power of the observer is everything. It's everything. It's what manifests reality. It's what manifests consciousness and changes consciousness. So that I don't know, I actually don't know how this is mechanically happening, but it's almost like there's a collective consciousness there in this period of time that says, you know, we need observers. We need observers, you know, and there are definitely peoples or sentience. There's definitely consciousness there that understands that the observer doesn't have to be from this moment, this time space, that observers can come from anywhere and they can be powerful. So in one respect, we are the observers, very, very powerful observers of all these processes happening. That automatically starts to feel different to me around what these issues are, because by being the observer, really actively being the observer to this entire period of time, feels like we're now in the, not just the being, but the, I don't know if the doing, I don't know if doing is the right word, but it feels more empowering, more structured, and definitely stronger. So already I feel like that agenda of what was affecting us has started to change and be different already. Okay, so the first part is the observer to this active memory, future time, 2022 to 2025. And then there's a second part to this, even though we are now connected in an active, functional part of the observance. So let's just imagine this, like there needs to be a, yeah, gosh, it's so big. Let's imagine it so we can wrap our imaginations around this, like there is a team being brought together, and this team are called the observers, and us in particular have been brought in. Anybody who you share this information with will automatically become part of that observer team. If their innate wisdom agrees to it, they'll automatically become part of this observer team. And the team of observers for this entire event, this whole chunk of time, is coming from so many different directions. Some of the observers will be from that current time-space reality. Some of the observers will actually be different forms of sentient beings from that time-space reality. Some of the observers are from our time-space reality. Some of them are from completely different parallel realities. Some of them are off-planet. Some of them are intergalactic. So this team of observers is pretty huge, but it does require that the innate wisdom agrees to being the observer. There has to, it's almost like a permissions, where the innate wisdom says we give permission because it's right for us, we give permission. So it won't be right for everybody. Not everybody will be the observer. So that's fine. The second thing is that the active memory, so that chunk of time, actually is impacting on this time-space reality. But I almost feel like that, you know, when I said before, I feel like it's already starting to change. And I'm reminded of like when you're a mum and the kids are little and they come up and they just start, they tap you and they go, mum, 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 until you go, yeah, okay. Like I hear you, I'm observing you. What do you want? And then it stops, right? So I feel like now that even just us observing this, a large amount of those tech and IT issues are automatically going to fall away, because the consciousness or the sentience, the intelligence behind, I don't even know where this comes from. Like there is a consciousness, there is an intelligence that I can see there that has said we need to get people's attention. We need observers on this. This is how this is going to change. We need more observers. So I have a feeling that deliberate, this is so not where I thought we were going to go. I have a feeling that deliberate interference was sent out as a way to say, Jacquie, 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 Erena, 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 like, listen. Would you bloody listen? And then after 6 weeks we go, okay, let's listen, let's observe, let's do a session, let's see what we need to do. So it was acting as an interference, but what I get now is that it's not necessarily an interference. What could be happening, and this might be more the second point that Innate is leading to, is that there is such profound change and reorganizing, reframing, recalibration, all that kind of thing, rebuilding, that there are massive ripples moving out in every direction of time space, and that these ripples are being felt as being very uncomfortable, and that level of uncomfortable is actually going to show up and affect anything at all in our reality. So it could actually show up as physical symptoms, expressions, experiences. It can show up in our health. It can show up in the way that our brains or our minds are working. It can definitely show up in garbled text messages and, and text to talk or talk to text getting all garbled up. It's going to show up any way it can show up, because the ripple effects are huge. And that's interesting to me, because I've had a pretty shocking headache since last Thursday, I must admit. And the moment I saw that piece, it's gone. Completely gone. So it's that understanding that they're not just ripples, but some of them are so big that the rebuilding, the reframing, the change, the crumbling down, it's the Tower card out of the tarot, It's also the Death card, it's birth and death at the same time, that those ripple effects are feeling almost like impact. They can feel like shock. Yeah. And that's the way that I felt it. I felt it very, very physically, like there had been impact to me. Okay. So it could show up physically for you as well. No further details to that, no further links. Let's go ahead and we're going to tap this in. Oh, that's a really good list. I'm grabbing that before we... Wow. Rest and relax. Nothing else we need to do there. There's nothing else further we need to do today. Is there a follow-up session? Yes, there is. But I feel like the follow-up session, because I was watching a piece prior coming into this where I felt like maybe there was a more invasive matrix aspect to this. And I feel like that's what's in our second session. But we've really just got to make it very short and sweet today, because we're working on so many different levels of consciousness and reality. That's going to be more than enough to bring about the change that we need initially, and also be more than enough for people to be able to process and cope with on top of what they're already doing. Do you have any, there's no homework or anything that's coming up from that, but do you have any pieces that you want to add to that, Erena?
No, just that list. And what's popping into my mind is creating something that can be the reminder, a consistent reminder to be the observer of what's unfolding, the focus of what we want rather than what appears to be.
That's such a great point.
So for me, it may even be a painting with these R words and written onto the canvas, and something sitting in front of me. Like, I don't know, this canvas here that I've done, this one here.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So the base colours represents my colours.
Yeah.
But that's got some beautiful, powerful words. And on the back of it, or underneath the paint. So every time I look at that, I know that there's imprinting happening. So maybe I'll create a painting for myself that has got these words in the background, so it brings my attention back.
I really love that. And, you know, for some reason, I grabbed my art journals out this morning and I was going through looking for a spare page and I was thinking, why am I doing this? And now I know why. Because I'll dedicate like an open spread to not just putting those words down, but I think maybe even doing some kind of drawing or something that depicts the vision of reality and how we want to see it. I think that's very, very, very good. I like that a lot. So great though, because I could see those initial 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 we had, and then all I could see underneath it was words and words starting with you know, re, and I thought, oh, there's so many. There's so many. Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being you know, the surrogate. Maybe do courtesies or you know, just set your intention that you're now not the surrogate, you're now 7 disassociated as being the surrogate for the session. You are now Erena Oliver.
Cool.
Thanks, beautiful.
That's all right. Thank you. And go well. Have an awesome weekend when it comes upon us.